first word on our list? What does it say?
So to go into
Okay,
something.
to go into something, and that means to that it could mean several things. Most phrasal verbs can mean more than one thing. Most phrasal verbs can mean several things. So one way that you can use go into something means to discuss something in detail, to talk about something in detail. Have you seen that
Yeah.
before? Have you ever seen go into used in this way?
No,
Okay.
no.
It's pretty common. It's a pretty common thing. And I think in the chapter actually uh, they used it that way several times just in that one chapter. So that was kind of funny. Can you read the example sentence?
Okay, so John wanted details, but Mary didn't have time to go into them.
What does that mean?
So mm, John, so Mary, John wanted to go in details, but Mary didn't have time to discuss in detail.
Yeah, she didn't have time to talk about them. She didn't have the time to talk about them. So isn't it in no way do they use the word talk or discuss, but that's what it means.
Yeah.
Okay. Is it pretty clear? Does it make sense? It's a very common phrasal verb. Talk about.
Yes, easy. Yes.
Okay. Can you say the first well maybe let's change this. Let's just change this to he and she. Can you say the first three words?
He wanted details.
What do you think is the most important word in that phrase?
Details.
Okay. Now that's a funny word because some people say details and some people say details. So it could the accent could be either way. I prefer details. I prefer it on the first syllable.
Yeah.
We'll do that here.
So
Go.
sometimes if you do not know this is short or long, we generally do long because it is easy.
I'm not sure what you're asking. Can you rephrase that in a different way?
Yeah. For example, if we have come across many words
Mhm.
and do not know this sound is long or short, so we can do long usually um, if you do not know this is short or long.
Well, I don't know about that because some sounds are always short. Some sounds are always little. It just so happens though that details both can be long. So
Yes.
if you have a word, well, I don't know. Let's see, pet. It would just sound weird. It would sound strange if you. People will understand you, I think, if you make it long when it's supposed to be short. But it will sound like you're, I don't know, angry. If you're making every
Okay.
sound long, you'll sound angry or not happy or something like that.
Okay. Okay.
Let's see.
Yes.
I
Got
want
it.
a cup of coffee. That sounds very angry because
Yes.
it sounds like when you make something small big, it's because it's important. And so if you make every sound big, it makes it sound like
Yeah.
every sound is important, which usually means a strong emotion. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So people will understand you, but they might be afraid of you. You might scare
Yeah.
them.
But Australian, do they long sound usually?
I'm not, I'm not super familiar with Australian English. I think that it's the same. It's the same for everyone. You know, it doesn't matter which country though. Some sounds are big and some sounds are small.
Yeah.
That's the I think that's the hard part about understanding English, the big and the small sounds. Well, speaking of big and small,
Okay.
how will you say those three words together? The first three words of the sentence.
He wanted details.
You wanted details. You wanted details.
He wanted details.
He
He
wanted.
wanted details.
Mhm. So he wanted is very small. He wanted details.
He
Okay.
wanted details.
Can you say the next one, two, three, four, five? The next five words.
But she didn't have time.
What do you think? Which word do you think would be best to emphasize?
Didn't
But
and didn't
ah,
have.
mhm.
Didn't.
Didn't have time. Do you know which word I would? I just naturally want to just emphasize the word time, and I'm not sure about the other ones. Let's see. Let's try it. But she didn't have time. But she didn't have time. I think.
Yes.
I think maybe didn't. You could do didn't. She didn't. We could also do didn't. This would give us more of a big, small rhythm. He wanted details, but she didn't have time.
He wanted details. She didn't have time.
Hmm. Okay. Now, we have the phrasal verb go into, right? And do you remember we were talking about prepositions and sometimes there's a very close connection between the preposition and the object. What
Yes. Yes.
do you think in a phrasal verb? And there should always
Yeah.
be a close connection between the preposition and the object. But with a phrasal verb, sometimes the preposition doesn't mean anything. It doesn't have a connection to the object. What do you think
Yes.
here? Does this have a connection to the object?
Yes.
It
Yes.
does.
Yeah.
So in that case, we want to emphasize that preposition, right?
Yeah. Into.
Oh,
Yeah.
so which syllable has the emphasis? In or to? Into.
Into. To.
No, that would be into. Into. But this is
In.
into. Into.
Okay. Into. Okay.
Into.
Yes. First.
Into. Okay. Into. Into them.
Into them.
Do you know that,
Into them.
Pachu, did you ever notice that the word them, if it's not emphasized, it could just become into them,
Uh, Into them.
into them.
Yes.
It's pretty typical way of
Yeah.
saying that. Into them.
Yes. Into them.
He wanted details, but she didn't have time to go into them.
He wanted details, but she didn't have time to go into details.
I would just say
Sorry. So into
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 into them, into them. Try
into them.
say it again. Say the whole phrase again.
He wanted details, but she didn't have time to go into them.
In well, not into them, into them. You have to put all the emphasis on the word in, on the sound in.
To go into them.
Into.
Into them.
Yeah, you have to do that if you want to be clear.
Okay.
You want.
So he wanted detail.
Go ahead.
Okay. He wanted details, but she didn't have time to go into them.
Because now you're saying go into them, but probably it's better if you just say go into them.
Okay. So he wanted details, but she didn't have time to go into them.
Into them. Into them.
Into them. into
Into them. Go into them.
to go into to
Time,
go into
time to go. Can you say time to go?
time to go,
Time to go into them.
time to go into
Didn't have time to go into them.
didn't have time to go into
He wanted details, but she didn't have time to go into them.
he wanted details, but she didn't have time to go into
Don't forget to whistle when you say the word she. She.
He wanted details, but she didn't have time to go into
That was a really nice she. That was very good. Okay. How many phrases can we divide this sentence into?
is two.
Okay, what are the two phrases?
So he wanted details, the first,
Okay.
and next is but she didn't have time into
Okay.
to go into
Time to go into them. Mm-hmm.
trying
All
to
right.
go into
Okay, and so if we look at this first one, he wanted details. He wanted details. Can you say that?
yeah. He wanted details.
Okay.
He wanted
How do
details.
you want this to sound? Would you like this to sound happy and friendly or serious? Which one do you think is better here?
Is serious,
Serious, serious, serious.
serious.
Okay. All right. So our special word in this phrase is details. Should it have a high sound or a low sound?
It's a low sound.
Okay. But how should we start our phrase?
It's a high tone.
High? Okay. All right. So it would sound like this. He wanted details.
He wanted details.
He wanted details.
He wanted details.
Okay. He wanted details.
He wanted details.
All right. Now in the second phrase, which is pretty long, how do you want that to sound? Do you want it to sound happy or serious?
It is serious.
Serious. Okay, so again, we'll make this blue at the end. We'll finish very low. But how will we start our phrase?
It's a high
Uh,
tone. It's-
but she didn't have time to go into them.
But she didn't have time to go into
Mm-hmm. Uh, yeah. Okay. You're saying she didn't have time to go into. You could do that if you want. You could make this high if you want also. I think maybe it's better if you just start high and go down low. Not really, but you could make it high if you want. Let's see. Let's try
okay.
the whole phrase. He wanted details, but she didn't have time to go into them.
Okay. Mm. He wanted details, but she didn't have time to go into
Okay. Can you make a what he want question? How will you ask a what he want question?
what did he want?
Okay, what is your most important word in that question?
Is a what?
Okay.
What?
How would what plus did plus he, how will that sound?
What did the? What did the?
What
What did?
plus what plus did plus he.
Okay. So what did the? What did the?
Why
What did the?
saying duh? Is it duh? What plus did plus he?
What did the? What did he? What did he?
Right. What did he? What did he? What did he? What did he?
What did he? What did he?
What
What
did he
did he?
want?
What did he want?
Yeah, so the two important words are what and want, and the other things, who cares? What did he want?
Okay. What did you want?
What did he want? It sounded very, it sounded very American. What did he
Yeah.
want?
What did you want?
That's funny. That sounds very, very close. Okay. And what is the answer to that?
You wanted details,
Okay. He wanted details, but she didn't have time to go into them.
but she didn't have time to go into them.
Okay. Uh, Now the next word that